All right. Keep it.
It's great.
Hello and welcome to the Missed Q. I'm your host, Ricky, and with me is...
Jackie.
And...
Heidi.
And together we are the Missed Q. Now, today we have a very special episode. Lauren Blain is our guest.
That's me.
Welcome.
Woo!
Hi, guys.
We understand
Thanks
you...
for having me.
Yeah, we understand you listen a little bit.
I've been listening. Today I did like a marathon listening because I was getting ready for my big debut of a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I got even more nervous because all my friends are amazing and they did such a good job. So thanks for doing this, guys. I think it's really cool.
Oh,
Thank you. I think we're going to just jump right into it. We put out kind of a poll about questions.
Yeah.
People submitted a lot of questions, and I wasn't in charge of collecting all those questions, but I understand there is a ton.
There were a ton, like from both like Facebook, Instagram. There were a ton, and they were from a lot of people that even I didn't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
But I think actually before we get into those questions, we should actually let our listeners know a little bit about you. Just the basics, your roots, basically.
Okay. So when I was a little girl, I was deathly shy, and my mom decided that it would be a good idea to find something that I love to do that hopefully would bring me out of my shell. So we were living in Virginia at the time. I think I was like 4 or 5, and she put me in my first ballet class, and I fell in love with it, probably because I didn't have to talk. I could just be a butterfly or a ballerina or a princess, and fell in love with dancing and telling a story without words. And then we moved to Lake Havasu. I was 5 years old, and my mom thought, okay, I have to find another dance studio because she was really into this. So we shopped around Lake Havasu. There was a few studios. We went to 2 or 3, and the first one was like this is not the place. Then I went to another one. Nope, this is not it. And then we found Grace Ann, and she had just opened a studio. I think this is 1991. I think I'm 6 years old. It was in the Shambles Village, if you're from Havasu. It was like a little tiny studio, and there was this little mini stage that was made out of cement right next to it, and that's where we had our first showcase. And so I did that, and I was in love with Grace from the moment I met her. I felt right at home. It was like I met my, little person in the world that was going to carry me, this little shy girl, through life. And she told my mom, yeah, we do theater, and she has to sing a song. And my mom's like, whoa, it's not going to happen. She doesn't like to talk. She doesn't come from behind my skirt unless it's dance class. She'll do that because she doesn't have to talk, but she's not going to probably talk or sing. And Grace's like, well, I think I can talk her into it. So the very first show I auditioned for was Cinderella. I remember bringing in a little boom box. I'm pretty sure that I sang this weird, nursery rhyme type of song, and it was like about a sailor. And I don't know exactly what it was, but I remember getting through it, and I didn't cry. And my mom was like, wow, she must really want to do this, because she didn't cry, and she made it through. And Grace, knowing that I love to dance, was interested in me, I think, as one of the little mice, one of the mices that are in the show. And so that was my first show. I was 6 years old, and I was a mouse, and it was a big show with an adult cast. I think she was still doing it through Parks and Rec at the time. I don't even think she was at MCC full time, but I don't know. I just remember Becky Carver as the fairy godmother, and she was so magical. And we did the float in the parade, and we got to be on the big float. It was a big deal. It was a really big deal as a little 6-year-old to be in that. So that was my first show, 6 years old. And then from there, I continued dancing with Grace and doing shows. I didn't do as many as my friends at first, probably because I was terrified of auditioning again. But then after that, I did Annie. I played one of the orphans. Then I did Oliver, and I played one of the Fagans boys, which is fun because then I went on to play Nancy years later multiple times. So that was kind of like a whoa moment to be one of the Fagans boys and then do that. I played in Annie Warbucks, and then I got to be one of the named orphans, and I think I had a line, which was big time. I think I was 10 then. So fast forward to now Lauren's in high school. I got to play some really big parts like Wendy and Peter Pan, which we just did, which was kind of another full circle moment because then I played old Wendy and got to direct the show. So that was really cool. And then Carousel happened, and Grace brought in a guest performer. He was a professional ballet dancer with the Joffrey Ballet. His name was Calvin. I played the part of Louise, And she's the ballet dancer, but the daughter of the two lead characters. It was a very emotional dance. It was a very big girl dance for such a little person. I think I was only 14 at that time, or 15, I don't know. But Calvin came to my mom and said, you know, she's got this. Like, there's something there. I think she could pursue this. What do you think about sending her away to somewhere else to perform or to dance? And at that time, I was really only a dancer. Like, even being Wendy in Peter Pan was a little scary because I had to actually sing. And Grace had also brought in a Peter Pan from California, so I was on stage with her, that was a big deal. But I was really just a dancer. Like, in my heart of hearts, I just kind of saw myself as a dancer. I won't tell any names, but I had a voice teacher that once told me I could not sing and I should just stick to dancing. So I had that kind of in the back of my mind my whole life, kind of growing up, that I'm just a dancer. And if you get lucky, you might get some fun parts with a little bit of singing, but, you know, you're not really a singer. And so I kind of always had it in my mind that I would never, like, pursue theater. I would pursue dance. And so Calvin telling my mom that I was ready to move somewhere else, my mom was like, what do we do? You want me to send my 15-year-old daughter away? Like, that's wild. But we started looking into programs that were like basically boarding schools for the arts. And so we were looking at like one in Interlochen, which is in Michigan. There was some in California. There was some in New York. And my mom found one that was in California. So I was like, okay, this is not too far away, but let's go see, you know, if you get a scholarship, I'll let you go. And so we went down to Idlewild Arts Academy, which is in a little mountain town above Palm Springs. If you don't know, you should go. It's beautiful. And it was a full-on boarding school. You send your child away. You live in dormitories. It's like you get there and it's like there's prefects like Hogwarts. Like, it's wild. My first roommate was from, I think, Korea, didn't speak any English at all, and I was terrified. I'm like 15 years old, and my mom has sent me away. But I was excited because I was like, I get to dance all day, and I only have to go to school for like 3 hours a day. Like, this is great because I was never an academic girl. I was always an arts girl. School was hard. I was dyslexic. I had some learning disabilities. So I was like, yeah, 3 hours of school, dance all day, sign me up. So there I was, 15 years old at Idlewild Arts Academy, and I graduated from there. I got to dance every day, all day. I didn't do theater. But my mom, I remember, was like, let's talk to, there was other programs. There's art, there's a theater program, there's a full orchestra program, there's movie, there's all kinds of stuff. But anyway, there was these beautiful little huts that they would do vocal lessons and music lessons in. And if you passed you had to go sing for them, and they would allow you to take private voice lessons. And so I did my second or third year there, I started taking voice lessons there. The lady also kind of was like, yeah, you're not really a singer. And I was like, okay, yeah, somebody told me that, but I'm going to keep going because I do like to sing. And so I did take some voice lessons, and it was like operatic training. Like she was serious. Yeah. Like, we were doing some serious stuff, which was cool because now it's, you know, it was in my bag. And even though I still thought I was just going to be a dancer, I just kept on like pushing through, and I still like to sing and still like to act. And so from there, I graduated from there, had a great time, learned a lot, worked with amazing dance teachers and choreographers. I got to watch a lot of cool theater because their theater program was really cool, but I only performed in their dance productions. And then I just started auditioning for colleges. I had this big, long list of colleges that I thought would be amazing. I ended up going to a college in New York, Purchase, and again, into their dance program because it's like a fine arts program put on by the state of New York. So I was in their program for about a year and a half, and then I got injured. I hurt my back. I really just kind of overdid it, to be honest. I was like, I can do everything. I can dance for 12 hours a day, and my body just wasn't handling it. And I think because I left so early, I was like already over the like living in a dorm and sharing a room and sharing bathrooms with people. And I was like, I just want to go home. I'm hurting. My back is like wrecked. I just was kind of hit this breaking point, and I missed doing theater. And my sister was doing theater, and there was like the pub was going on at that time, and everyone was doing all these cool shows. And I was like, I kind of just want to go home and like do some theater and see my family for a little while. So I left college, which I do regret. I will say I should have just finished, but it's part of my story now. And now I say I went to the Grace Arts School of Hard Knock Life instead. And I came home, and I remember going to Chili's with Grace, and she sat down. She's like, why are you home? What are you doing? Like, this isn't the plan. And I was like, yeah, so I just want to do what you do. And you're like, what? I was like, yeah, I want to learn to do what you do. And I want to teach dance, and I want to direct shows, and I want to be a part of this. And she was like, really? And she's like, well, okay, let's go. Like, she's like, when do you want to start teaching dance classes? Like, that was the first step. So I started teaching dance classes. I'm now 20 years old, I think. Yeah, somewhere in there. I started teaching dance for her. I started kind of just following her everywhere she went. I was her little right-hand gal. I started doing choreography for all her shows. She was still at MCC at the time. So we did shows. We started doing shows again, which was fun, and kind of just got immersed back into that. And then she stopped MCC. She started Grace Arts Live. And she was like, what do you think about running the youth program? This is it. Here you go. Here's your chance. You ready to direct? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. I was like terrified, but that's what I told her I wanted to do. So I couldn't back out then. So I started directing youth shows. I think the first one was Jungle Book Junior, or Kids. I think, and it was just funny because we just did it again.
Right, yeah.
I've done everything again now at this point. I feel like I should be 90 years old with the amount of shows I've directed, and youth, especially youth shows, because I'm like, how many times have I directed Suzable? How many times have I directed? Like, whoa, it's crazy. So yeah, I remember just immersing myself in everything. Like, every meeting that Grace would have, even if I wasn't supposed to be there, I'd just be sitting there listening. Like, okay, they're doing a lighting meeting. I'm just going to sit and listen and see what they have to say. And so I heard Ray and Josh talk, and I heard Grace, and I heard, all these different people that she's worked with through the years. I just kind of sat in on everything and learned as much as I could. And there was a little bit of, I keep using the word imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. I feel like I just was like making it up as I go, but I kind of feel that's kind of my style. Like, let's go, here we go. I said I was going to do this, and whether I can or can't, I'm in, here we are. I said I wanted to do what you do, so I can't back out now. And then I just fell in love with teaching, and I fell in love with directing. And honestly, I feel like I'm more at home in that position than I am on stage, which is kind of surprising, because I used to really think this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be on the stage. I'm a star. Like, put me in the spotlight. But honestly, especially now that I've gotten older, I'm like, no, I think I really actually like the other side better. Mm-hmm. I think it fits my personality better. I feel like the anxiety that performing brings to me is almost unbearable sometimes, which I think some people probably don't know about me. But what Kyle Short said with being kind of an introvert, that's more my natural, people are a little scary to me sometimes. But if I'm in charge and I'm telling everybody what to do, I'm okay. But I'm like, here we go. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the story. So I wrote down from Jack's list. I was trying to guess how many shows I had done, and I honestly had no idea.
Thank you, Jack Weldon.
Yeah, thank you, Jack Weldon. So anyway, I started looking at his list, and I've done 32 years of theater, been dancing for 34 years. I think I've been in about 60-ish shows because I did some other shows that weren't here as a kid that were, what's that traveling? They used to come from Michigan. Missoula. I did a lot of those shows. So, those aren't in there, but I don't even know if those really count.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Jack could whip up a list.
Right? I was in a lot of those, which is wild because now I kind of base that experience into our workshop show where we have to put it, that we would do a show in a week. Those people would come in on Monday. They would audition the kids on the first day. Ugh. We would learn the show over the 4 or 5 day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you'd perform Friday, Saturday. And it was wild. Now that I think back on it, I'm like, whoa. And they'd bring the people in that did it would be also in the show with you. So they'd have the lead roles, and then the kids would play. So I did a lot of those, but I guess those don't really count. But anyway, so 60-ish shows with Grace. And then I think I've directed 70 shows. Wow. And that's not counting we did 3 Madagascars, but I just counted them as one. So yeah, that's a lot of freaking shows.
Wow.
I didn't cuss, right? That was
No.
But yeah, I was when I was counting, I was like, wow. And I don't even know if they're actually all on there. I think he's done really good, but I think they're all on there. I think there's just some unnamed, Honky Tonk just says question mark or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's
because I think Jack makes the list at the beginning of the season, and if something isn't announced, he just leaves it blank. Honky Tonk was the New Year's show, right?
Yeah.
So he probably didn't know it, and he's just
something happened there.
New Year's show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. So there's my spiel. I said I wasn't going to talk as much as Jake, but I think I did.
No, it's okay.
It was your
know.
slate, as
Yeah.
Russell says. It's your
Right, it's
slate.
my
Yes,
slate.
people want to know.
Yeah. So anyway, in the midst of all of that, I now own the dance studio. I run. Well, I'm like the owner. I don't own the building, but I own the studio, and I run the studio all by myself for the past 2 years. And yeah, so we're doing the thing.
Yeah.
It's like happening.
It's real.
It's real. And like I
Real.
said, School of Hard Knock Life of Grace. That's how I learned. And whether I'm doing it correctly or not, I don't know, but I'm having fun. And I think what I'm doing is really important.
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on behalf of the Missed Q. And I would say thank you on behalf of the entire theater community from the generation of, 2005 it seems you started?
Yeah.
Till now. So,
No, it's wild.
what,
Going into our 18th season.
So cool.
Yeah, I know. And it's like hard to even think of like what shows to do next, but then at the same time, like the possibilities are endless, which is really cool too. Like
Yeah.
kid shows are harder because I feel like there's a lot less of them out there, like that can sell, I guess you could say, because we're obviously it's a business and we have to make sure we're selling tickets, so that's hard. But yeah, making lists of shows I want to do. I set the other day, I guess a couple months ago, when Grace was trying to decide on the new season, I was like, here's my like magic I hope happens someday list. And I sent it to her. She goes, is this for the next 7 years? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it is. Pick one. And she couldn't pick one off my list. It took us months to figure, I feel like months, felt for like forever to like land on a show that we both agreed on. Yeah, which is hard sometimes. Sometimes she's like, yeah, sure, do it. And then other times she's like, no. And I just keep throwing shows at her, like, how about this one? And sometimes it's even like a show I don't even know. I'm like, I wonder if she'll just say yes to this. And I'm like, which is kind of what happened with Anastasia. I was like, had sent her so many. And then finally one day I just like had seen a clip from Anastasia. I was like, this is really beautiful. And it had the ballet in it. So that my little dancer heart was like, ooh, that's fun. And I sent it, and she goes, okay, fine. And I was like, what? Are you sure? And then I was like, I better go watch the whole show. I haven't even seen the whole thing. Like, as a kid, I remember watching the movie over and over and thinking it was just gorgeous. And then I had really only seen clips and listened to the music, but I hadn't really seen it in its entirety. So I was like, we better make sure this is what I can do this. Like, it's even possible. And she's like, okay, so that's on the list coming up. Here we go.
So thinking of the 70 shows you've already directed, now if you had to pick a dream show to direct, like if your list you gave to Grace, your number one show, like if you, there was no money was not an object, the stage was not an object,
you could do it exactly the way you wanted.
exactly the way you wanted it.
Yes.
What show would you want to direct?
Here's $1 million, Lauren. Direct.
You can only pick one because I know there's a list.
Yeah, there's like a list of 20 right here that I have.
Absolutely.
Of the shows that I'm like are on my radar.
Yeah.
And like these are a lot of the shows I sent to Grace. Only one. Okay, so like let's say like my dream show, like you said, no
Yeah, nothing,
strings
no
attached to
objects.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, you have everyone you need for the cast, all the things. Yeah.
Okay, so if I could this is not even on my list.
Okay.
of the 20.
Because I would never want to do this because I don't think we have the people in this day and age in our little we live in a very small community. So if anybody's listening to this who's not from Havasu, you do not realize like how small of a town, and we do 6 shows a year that are adult season shows, and then we do another 6 kids shows ish, and that's a show every month, which is wild. Like I always say, my biggest dream is to direct a show that is I get more than 3 weeks to put together. Like that's my really dream. Like give me any show if I can just have like 3 months to put it together. Like could you imagine? I don't even know what that's like because I've only ever done it like this. Like it's like suicide theater. It's seriously.
Wait, you've only ever done it this way, really?
Yes. I mean, I've been in shows at MCC where we had the full 3 months where we have like a semester to put on a show. But I've never directed a show where I've had that amount of
That
time.
much time.
So that to me is like dream number 1. But okay, so can I just read all the shows? Okay, so I went by categories because
I love that.
this is how my brain goes. So the older shows that I'm like have dreamt of directing are 42nd Street, Singing in the Rain. There's one that's really like on my heart because like you said, no object of like money or space or whatever. Like our stage is so small that I don't even know if we could get a rain curtain. I don't even know if that's possible. Like, anyway, so 42nd Street, Singing in the Rain. This one's already been done at Grace Arts, but I've been wanting to direct it, is Les Mis.
Wow.
This one's kind of just my childhood favorite, which I have directed a youth version, but I've never directed an adult version, which is Wizard of Oz. Legally Blonde, which is funny because I've already done it, but I just really love that show, and I think it might be coming in spring. Not to be dropping any things that I'm not supposed to, but it's a possibility. I've always wanted to direct Cinderella because it's my first show I was ever in, so I think that'd be kind of fun. And I wrote 42nd Street and Singing in the Rain again, so apparently those are like big ones on my brain. Again, those are like big dance shows, and if you know me, I'm kind of a lover of time. Like, I love the 50s, I love the 40s. Like, I always say I was born in the wrong era. Like, should have been born a long time ago. Like, I don't belong. Like, everyone's gonna hate me for this, but like, I don't really love new musicals as much as I love the old ones because I'm just an old soul, I think. I grew up watching MGM musicals and old movies, and that's what's magic to me is that old timiness. Like, that's what gets my heartstrings going. But anyway, but the funny part is I only direct usually newer shows because that's just kind of the role that I took with Grace. Was like, okay, the first show I ever directed that was an adult show was Legally Blonde, and it's not really a show that Grace would take on, so it was really fun for everyone to like get to see something new. It was very new for Havasu, I feel like, and very like whoa,
It was a huge change
gay or
at the
European?
time.
Like, that was like, whoa, the whole thing was like a big deal. So, so I just kind of got into the pigeonhole of doing newer shows. Yeah. So here's my new show list. Oh. So May We All, which is a show that I don't think a lot of people know, but it was created in Nashville. It is all country music. There's some Dolly Parton in there, which
of course,
another moment. Jolene is in it, which is like,
yes.
So, but here's the other kicker of that show is that I would want to be in it. So maybe I don't want to direct it.
Right.
Because I would want
you want to
be.
Oh, you should be in it. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a
They
really
also have
cool
Junior.
new show. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Like,
We saw a sample of it at ITF.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
they did
I mean,
one
if
song.
you love country music and then they put it to a really beautiful story,
Yes.
it's cool. So that was in there. School of Rock is one that's been on my radar for a while, but I'm terrified because you need children who can play instruments.
Yes.
So I've been I told the boys this summer, my little boys, I was like, I need one of you to play drums, and they were like, what? And I, started, and they were like, Mom, we don't have time. I'm like, you're right, but I really want to make this happen, so we need to figure that out. Okay, Willy Wonka, the adult version. We all know I've been talking about that. That was my number one this year for Grace, and she just wasn't ready to hear it. So, Grace,
Love to do that.
there's a lot of people who want to see it. Beetlejuice is on my radar. Mean Girls is on my radar. Another big one that I think has been talked about a lot is Catch Me If You Can. I know somebody asked if I was thinking about Rock of Ages, and I've been thinking about that one for a while. Full Monty's another one that I've loved for a long time, and I kind of
Love Full
revisited
Monty.
when Kyle Short brought the idea back, and I was like, this is really good. But the two big ones that I love, those are like more ones that I think people are like pressuring me to do, is Waitress, but I don't think it's available yet
No, it's
for
not.
It's not.
anybody yet.
I check all the time.
Yeah, no, I know. I and it's funny because Grace was like, well, wouldn't you want to be in that? And I was like, I wouldn't want to, again, imposter syndrome. I don't want to ruin it. Like, I want it to be done by the best of the best, and I can already kind of envision it a little bit, and it's not me. So I will sit in the audience and cry every day when they sing those beautiful songs. But so that's another big one. And then Hunchback, which I know is another like wild dream because I don't even know if we have the people. But my number one that, again, I don't know if I could direct it because my dream of all dreams is to be in Chorus Line as Cassie. But I would only want to do it if I could choose my dancers. And I would want to choose like people who I've trained that have gone on. Like I can envision Zoe Killian coming back and Aaron and Maura and like I can already envision their little roles and parts and Daniel. Like I want to pick my dream cast. Like, like football guys pick their dream
their fantasy
football picks, which I don't know anything. I have little boys now, so they talk about these things all the time. But I was thinking about this, how I would like my fantasy pick of Chorus Line. And that's my dream show. So, and I probably would want to be directed and be in it because I would want it to be done just right.
the way you
and
are.
that's the first show I ever saw on Broadway. And I remember I was when I first went to, actually it's not the first show, but it's the first show I went by myself. I had just gotten to New York and I was in college, and my mom, I was so depressed and I was like having a moment. My mom's like, go see if you can see a show on Broadway. I'll pay for it, but I can only like afford under $100 one. And when you had a student ID, you got a lesser ticket price. And obviously, if you sat in the nosebleeds, you get even lesser price. So I sat like way up, like so far up, and I sobbed the entire show because it's about dancers, and the life of a dancer is not long. And I was already kind of feeling that at age 19, you know, and I was already like, this is it. I'm not going to make it. Like, it was just like a really big aha moment. But then it was also my aha moment of I miss theater. And I want to go back to that. And I want to find my home. And I want, you know, if I can't pursue this professionally as far as being a dancer, I still need this in my life somehow. Yeah. So that's kind of where I was at. So that's my dream show, I guess, is Chorus Line. But I'm like afraid to even say this because Grace will be like, okay, we're going to put in the season next year. Here we go. And I'm like, no, but it has to be done my dream way.
Right.
Like dream ballet style, like in old... you know, Hammerstein, it's like a dream version for me. Like, I want it to be done perfectly. Yeah. And I don't know that it could ever happen that way. But I'm putting it out there to all my people that if you want to come back and do that show with me, please do. So there you go. There's my... Oh, and I do have a youth show list too, but anyway, maybe I shouldn't read that one. We'll save that for next time when we get through the youth theater crazy.
Okay.
It's a lot of shows. A whole page of shows.
That's amazing.
Did we touch on the dream role you'd love to play?
No, I was going to say
okay,
that's
well,
next.
Cassie.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like the dream role, but only in the dream.
In
scenario.
your
Only
dream
in that-
scenario.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
like So that's the top one on the list. I said with my dream dancers, what I did for love. That song just like, oof, is like I could cry every time I listen to it. But okay, so other dream roles: Ursula in Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of funny because I remember when we did it the last time. I guess I just didn't cast. I think that was really. I honestly told Grace I'm like really interested, and and she just went a different direction, which is fine. And that's directors have that prerogative, and we don't always see things the same. But that's definitely on my radar. I also just love Disney, like Disney Prince. And I think I never got to play a Disney princess, so I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gonna fill it. Like here I come.
Well, and Ursula's so fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Like here we go. Another different one that a lot of people don't know that just came out at La Jolla Playhouse is they're doing the Ballad of Johnny and June, and it's a Johnny and June, Johnny Cash, June Carter show, and they wrote it in through the eyes of their child. So they both had children with their previous husbands and wives, and then they had one little boy together, and so it's told through his perspective of their love story. And I just think it's so unique and so different. And again, if you don't know me, I am a lover of country music, but especially old-timey country music, Patsy Cline, all that good stuff. So that's one that's kind of in my little thoughts, and it's funny because when I played Patsy Cline, did the Patsy Cline show, I kept looking and like, why is there not a Johnny and June show? Like there should this needs to happen. And then just this past like year that came out. So it's probably going to be a while before it becomes anything, but I think it did really well. I think people loved it. So it's all their beautiful music. And so then Satine and Moulin Rouge just kind of came on my radar lately. I feel like I'm like at my another interesting thing about me is I usually play very dark characters who either are killed, beaten, maybe a little on the
A lady of the night.
I told Grace a long time ago that I should write a paper on why I have played these roles. Like what in me has like led me to play so many of these like similar type roles, which I think is partially because I'm a dancer. So like Cabaret and Chicago and those kinds of shows just kind of sit naturally. I also kind of have that kind of a voice, belty voice. So yeah, that was one on my radar lately. So one of the other shows that I've always said I wanted to play Miss Hannigan, which is funny because we're doing Annie and I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't even know if I should say this, but I think I'm having some vocal issues lately, so it's a little scary for me, but I'm going to meet with a doctor soon and hopefully get that all figured out. So no, nothing confirmed yet. I'm not playing Miss Hannigan. The role is still up for grabs. Anyone? And the other thing that's funny about me is like, I will always, if I feel like there's somebody else can do it better, I'm like, please. Like, I never want to take that away from somebody. Like, it's just kind of always been, especially as I've gotten older and performing kind of stresses me out. I'm like, oh no, you go right ahead. Like,
It's just less
You do
anxiety
that.
for you.
yeah, it really does take that. Like, as much as I want to play it, I like, because I only perform so often right now, I feel like the anxiety is even worse because I'm not like continually doing a show. It's like that buildup is terrifying to me now. That imposter syndrome comes in, that worthiness thing comes in. So that's a little scary for me. But I haven't done a show in like a year and a half. I think the last show I did was Honky Tonk with Allie, which was terrifying because it was a massive show, and we literally put it together because it's a New Year's show in 1 week. We like choreograph, block, learn harmony. Like, it's just wild. And that one was really hard but amazing at the same time. Like, Allie and I feel like are just kindred spirits at this point. Like, when we're on stage together, it's like, no matter what happens, no matter how many times I mess up, she just looks at me like, it's okay. I got you. I love you. We're in this together, which is the magic of theater. And so, yeah. And then before that, I think the other show Young Frankenstein was the last. So it's been a while since I've been on stage, so I think it's a little scary, but also this voice thing. I've been yelling and screaming at children for 20 plus years, and my voice is
That'll do it.
taking a beating,
do
and
it.
also singing the kinds of shows that I've sung, and so that's a little bit in my view right now of like taking care of that first. But if I go to the doctor and they say that I'm cleared and this is something that we can handle, then Miss Hannigan might be really fun. So then Ricky was right. Mary Poppins was another one. I feel like we did it here, and I think I just didn't feel like I could handle it. And so I also had babies at the time. They were really little. I think I just sent you a picture, and Nolan was like,
Oh, yeah.
2, Blaine is maybe 4, like they're babies.
Yeah.
So I still am in mommy mode of like doing, and so I feel like their stuff comes first right now before I get to jump in any of those things. Okay, there's 3 more on my wish list, and these are more like classic shows that I love the old stuff. I love. Oh, and then I said 3 more. Then I have a whole other category underneath that. So anyway, Betty.
I don't
White
want 2
Christmas.
episodes.
Here we are. I knew this was going to
We've
happen.
asked 2 questions.
Okay, so Betty White Christmas, which
Okay.
another one Allie and I have been talking about for years because we both love White Christmas and we think it'd be fun to be sisters. And so that's been on my radar. I also, Polly and Crazy for You, I don't know if you guys know Crazy for You, but I've been listening to a lot of old musicals lately, and Crazy for You came on the other day, and I was like, oh, I need to know more about this. So I watched the old movie, and then I just like fell in love, and that's been on my like playlist a lot lately when it's just me, myself, and I. Okay, so the other questions people are asking were reprise roles.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to
I've
ask you.
done a lot of shows.
What would you like to
before?
reprise?
Yeah, so Witch and Into the Woods is like the big one.
Okay.
Because I feel like when I played it, I was way too young to like even understand. I had just had Blaine. I have pictures of myself in curlers, like those crazy noodle curlers, and I'm holding Blaine, and he's got to be like 6 months old. Like, he's a baby.
Oh my God.
And I can't believe that I pulled it off, to be honest, now, like looking back on it, because number one, I don't think I was the right person for the part in that time. Like, I wasn't old enough to even like understand. But I will say that doing it was very rewarding, because I feel like even though I wasn't necessarily right for the role, I feel like I did pull it off and I did enjoy it, which is not always the case when I finish a show. Sometimes I walk away going, ooh, like I don't ever watch myself. I don't listen to myself. I'm terrified anyway. But I was like, I think I did it. I think I learned all the words. I think I sang them halfway correctly.
Rapping at the beginning
Yeah,
of the show.
Into the Woods.
I actually, that's the first time I actually felt like I was like acting. Like, I am playing something that is so far from me, especially when you're the witch at the beginning. And I remember they had this like horrible mask on me and I couldn't hear. It was made me think of you talking about Shrek, like, and then they like cannibalized the thing so it fit better on my face, but then it was falling off all the time, and it was just like, it was rough. Like, it was just a rough go of a really hard show. I would love to do that again because I feel like that now. I feel like I'm there. Like I could definitely now. I knew I
got
could,
it.
Yeah,
She's
I
even
think
doing the witchy
I
hand.
like
and
it's all like
now?
woo.
Yes.
The other part that was really hard about playing that show is Grace had played that part, and I played a couple roles that Grace has done previously.
She's like, you want to do what I do? Let's see it.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but you have to do it exactly the way I did it,
Right.
or it's not right. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't be you. Like, not only that, but Bernadette Peters did this, and like you
Right.
think of all the other people that's done this monstrous role. And so yeah, that's the number one thing that I'm like, ooh, I need to do that again. And I feel like you could play that part for a lot of years too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
like the fact that I
Yeah.
played it in my late 20s was wild, but now I'm like, okay, now we're getting closer to what she probably should have been at
Yeah.
the beginning.
So I hope Gypsy's on there.
Next one on the list, I guess.
Yay.
Actually, that was up above. I skipped it because I felt like I had too many. But yeah, so you know what's really funny is Grace, another big regret in my life is never playing the older Louise to Grace's Gypsy.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it was just one of those shows that didn't work out. And I'm like, could Grace do it one more time before I do it? Like, that's interesting to me, but probably not. I'm on my way to 40, y'all. Like, I am so close. I can hear it knocking on the door. Anyway, so that is my radar, but also playing the part of Gypsy. Like, playing Rose, Mama Rose is like, definitely, it's going to happen. Grace says she's going to direct it. She's already like ready to pass it on the torch to me on that one. And I'm like, but I don't know if I'm old enough to play that one right now either. Like, I feel like I need a couple more years.
Just channel your old soul in your performance.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
I feel like, I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
You have imposter syndrome, so it's
Yeah, that.
So yeah.
Okay,
tough to believe you.
Yeah. So other reprise roles I would love to do. I'd love to do Sally again, but I don't know again if I'm too old now. But I feel like Sally doesn't have to be super young. I also, when Erin did it the second time, my knees were really bothering me, and Grace was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do it?" I was like, "No." Again, if there's somebody that I think can handle the role, or it's somebody that I feel like deserves the role, and I've already done it, it's my turn to pass it on. But if she happened to do it again, and I was feeling good, and my knees were not bothering me, and I kind of am getting back in shape these days, I might want to try that again. But then my big, talking about turning 40, is I want to play Velma at 40. Because I've done Velma twice. Once I was 21, 2-ish, and then I did it at 30. And so then doing it again at 40 would be like, whoa, like here, and then maybe at 50 and 60. Like, Velma can go on and on.
Velma can, yes.
Oh, so, if I could still stand on a chair and do the splits, I think I might try again at 15, 16. So those are other ones. Annie, I would do Patsy Cline again for the rest of my life if I could. But my grandpa, his band played with us live on stage, and it was literally one of the hardest things to work with a live band who's all over the age of 60, 70. My grandpa's 85 now, I think. When we did it, he was like 82. Like, one of the best memories of my life was being on stage, having my grandpa behind me playing bass, and singing the songs that he and my grandma used to play for me as a child. Like, that was really cool. And I've just kind of always had this kindred spirit with Patsy Cline. I remember as being a little child listening to Patsy and listening to all these old-timey country songs and just falling in love with it. Again, they're storytellers. Like, more than they're singers, they're storytellers. So I think I really connected with that. So yeah, I'd play Patsy over and over again if I could. But those are the ones that I think I'd like to do someday. Maybe. If I don't get scared and back out.
So what advice would you give to an adult who wants to get into theater?
So I teach a lot of youth theater, and I would tell an adult the same thing I tell kids. And so every workshop we do, I give out my little speech about the P's of auditioning. So here you go. So your P's of auditioning are your purpose. Remember your why. So why are you here? Why you want to do this? It's fun. Don't stress. It's supposed to be fun. It's called a play, right? So have fun. That's like my number one thing. Like, remember why you walked in the door in the first place. Next one is the perspective. So perspective, it would be like, be optimistic, but also be realistic. And I like to tell people that because they walk in the door, sometimes they're like, sometimes we just don't know you, and we just kind of need to get to know you and throw you in a show, play ensemble. Even if, like, sometimes people come in with resumes and we're like, really? Like, I mean, truthfully, they may have done all of those things, but we just don't know you yet. So just be optimistic, be receptive to the process. Some days people walk in and they get cast as a lead day one, and we just trust our gut because they're the right person for the job. Sometimes we may just need to get to know you a little bit more. Sometimes it just might not be the right show. I think just stay realistic too about the process.
Yeah, because I've seen people come in that have so much talent, but then it turns out the lineup is like spelling bee size cast and very particular
Just not
cast,
the
stuff
right-
like that.
Exactly. I keep coming back. Like I hate when people are like, oh, I tried on again part, and they only use the same people over and over, which is true because we do get comfy, cozy with, our people, but like keep coming back because there will be the right show. We will get you involved. Like, even if you don't get cast, maybe offer to help backstage or help with props or like just get your foot in the door. And then I promise you, like, we will make a spot for home for you. We will learn about you, and we will find your moment. Plan and pick your perfect song. So there's another 2 P's. So when you come to your audition, like you guys talked about, a lot of time you're auditioning for multiple shows, so it is hard to pick songs because the shows are all so different. So like normally we tell kids, like, pick a show or pick a song that's like the show you're auditioning for.
Right.
But when you're auditioning for 3 shows, my best advice is just to pick something that fits you. Like, show us your authentic self, be your best, truest self, because you're not going to be able to find a song that's going to fit all 3 shows, or, unless you're only going for one role or one show, then okay, guess pick a song that fits the show. But if you are auditioning for multiple shows, then just show us your best. Like, show us your most authentic, real self, and then I feel like we can place you where best fits you. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people come in thinking they have to, like, okay, I'm auditioning for this role and I have my eye set on this thing, so I have to sing this song in this way. But really, like, I don't cast that way always. I'm usually trying to find out who you really are, like, in your truest self, because then I'm going to get the most real performance out of you because you're being the most real, authentic you, versus giving me, like, well, this is how so-and-so sang it, so I have to sing it just like this to get the role. Like, that's not always the case. I mean, if you can come in and do a perfect Shrek, then come in and do a perfect Shrek. But if you're looking for more, just you want to just get your foot in the door, just show us who you are, like your best self. So that's one of, I think, the most important things.
Great advice.
P's of auditioning: practice, sing as many times as you can. I can't tell you how many times I have auditioned horribly because I didn't practice enough, I'll be honest. But the ones that I did practice the most for and I was the most prepared for, it's another P, were my better auditions. So sing for anyone who will listen. Project confidence. Again, that same thing of just bringing your best self. And again, just have fun. Like, don't take it so seriously. Don't feel like you have to come in and blow us out of the water. We really just want to see you. And we want to learn about you. And we want to get to know you. We want hopefully you're going to become a theater family member for a lifetime, which usually people do. Like you guys said,
You get sucked in.
You get sucked in.
We're like the vortex. Once you kind of
We're glad you're here to
come out.
confirm everything we've said.
Yeah, you guys have been right on. I've loved everything you've said. So that's my piece of auditioning. I guess that's not really like advice, but like that's just how to get your foot in the door, I guess. But like I said, if you don't get in the first time, please come back. And if you are at all interested in helping out in any other way, that's another great way to show us what a great human you are, because I love great humans. And if I always say, like, I hope your kindness isn't just because you're trying to get something. Right. I hope your kindness is just because you're kind. And that's another really big part of my youth program.
You
and
mean
my
because you're
dance
the
program.
director?
Well, yeah. I think that's part of my, introvert side is like, are you being my friend because you want to be a certain role, or you want your kid to be a certain role, or you want your children to be moved up in dance classes, or are you being nice to me because you're really a nice person? Like, I think I'm a little afraid because I've been hurt. So, that's kind of, I think, the dark side of my job is that part.
I feel like that's great advice. I mean, especially as an adult who is, I mean, clearly that question came from someone who wants to get into theater and
Yeah.
probably
Right.
has been so nervous to audition. Like, just hearing some of those reminders, like, okay, yeah, I just have to go in and be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
It's
all I have to
really good
do.
advice.
Yeah.
It really.
I
Because,
feel
I mean,
like-
we've all auditioned a million times, and I still am like, oh, that's really
And you guys are
advice.
so welcoming of new talent.
yeah,
new
we're
are.
excited.
Oh,
like
yeah.
we need.
You know, we're always
new
excited to
people.
grow
Yeah.
the theater
Yes,
family.
Yeah,
bring more
totally.
people in.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially guys. We always need guys.
No, guys and girls.
I mean, and girls, but
but I mean, yeah. Sometimes we really need guys.
sometimes we really need guys.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Okay, so we know that there are now bringing some adult dance classes.
Yeah,
So there's hip hop,
Right.
and tap, because tap was such a success this
Right.
summer.
Yeah.
One of our questions was: is there any chance of adding in an adult musical theater class into the rotation?
yeah. I for sure. I don't know if they're. I thought about this today. I was like, I wonder if they're thinking like musical theater classes and like scenes, or if they're thinking musical theater dance, which is
Right.
more of what I did this summer. Was
Right.
just like preparing you for dance
For
that would
dancing.
be in a musical. But either way, I think if we were to do something, it would be more the dance realm of that. I don't know unless Ricky wants to start teaching some acting lessons and things, maybe someday. If we would go in the route of like a acting theater, musical theater type class. But I definitely think that we're going to do more. So we're just doing 6-week sessions right now, just to kind of like get it going, see who's interested. I want to see if people still are interested after 6 weeks, and especially once like real life gets going. I feel like everyone's summers are kind of slow, so they had more time.
Right, we're like, yeah,
But
we'll do it.
Grace is like, I never do adult classes because they never stay. They always sign up and they never show up, and so
A little trial period
Yeah, so a
then.
little trial period, and then I mean, I foresee it to continue. I'm hoping to do, a 6-week jazz, a 6-week ballet, a 6-week musical theater dance.
And I
like, all
think
of those
teaching
things.
acting would be something cool to get into
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, you're a little busy right now, but
Yeah,
you got podcasts going on.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I so another big dream of mine, and it's hard because we are a one studio room studio. We're kind of at capacity with classes, and we're at
Yeah.
capacity of children, and we're so. Here's my begging for money, like you said.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it was coming.
My other dream, other than my chorus line dream, is that we build onto this building and we create a more dance room space. We also can create rooms for voice lessons. We can create what we really need is also to house costumes, props, and sets. So if we could build onto this building and have it all under one roof, would be amazing. So
man.
any donors out there in the world who want to contribute to this amazing theater, dance studio, small community theater world, we're in need of you.
Just reach out to the Miss Q and we will get you in contact.
Yeah. Right? Could you imagine if it happened?
That would be
Hey.
amazing.
I mean, we have listeners from 5 countries, and I think
Wow.
we're up to 24 states.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, there could be
I'm-
anyone out there.
I'm manifesting this.
Yes.
This is it.
Yeah.
More
Putting it
than
into
more
the
than my
theater world.
chorus line manifestation, and this is my real manifestation.
Yeah, I just have a good feeling about the future of theater in this town.
I do too.
Absolutely.
I mean, if it could continue for as long as it has and be as strong as it has for 30 plus years, like just imagine what we can do. Like that gives me goosebumps. I don't know.
Maybe we can, someday if you have a retirement party, we could pull off a concert version of your chorus line with all of your people and a dance concert,
Okay.
whatever.
A dance
concert, whatever
I
you
mean,
want.
it is
I don't.
kind of
I'm like,
nice-
it's a dance show.
I will say the nice thing about chorus line is there's no set. I mean, you just need
yeah.
a mirror
It's a stage.
and a stage. Like, how more simple can you get? Just
we
need
would.
the right
They would just
people.
sit you in the middle of the room there, and they would just perform it around you.
Oh, I'm like really old when we're doing that?
Yes.
Oh.
But that's not part of
No,
her dream.
but
You
I
still
need
get
to be able to still
Cassie.
dance.
You're
Yeah.
Cassie.
She has to be in it.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry.
No.
You can't take that one away from me.
No.
Especially if all my people are here dancing with me.
Okay, so thinking of the roles that you have played, particularly picking a favorite, but not only a favorite, but what has that role taught you about yourself?
Well, I talked about Into the Woods. I felt like that was the first time I was like, I'm an actress. Like, I did something that was outside of me, that was very hard, and I did it Grace's way, but I did feel like it was my way too. Like I didn't feel like it was, I just was really proud, I guess, when I walked out of that one, just because I felt like it was so far removed from myself and a brand new mommy and all of those things. Patsy was another like big, like I was on stage the entire time. I never left, I think, except for maybe to change. I would literally run off stage. My little Peyton, I think, would change me in 5 seconds, and I would run back on stage. So that was like monumental. And I think again, it's those moments in my life where I've doubted myself so much, but then I walk away and I'm like, I did it. Like I accomplished something that was very difficult, not necessary. I am not the most natural at picking up lines and songs. I tend to make up my own lyrics half the time, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I get really in my head. But when I do the thing, and I just feel really accomplished. So I think that's probably the most magical part for me, other than seeing, like I loved what you said about looking around and seeing your friends. Like that's another like magical moment. But I don't get to do that often for myself because I'm usually so in my head, which is probably why I make mistakes. 'Cause I should just get out of my head like Ricky and just enjoy the moment and be in the moment. But I have a really hard time with that. So I'm more of a Jackie, and I really get in my head. But
that's the thing. We represent different people.
Yeah,
we have
you guys
all
are
of
like,
stage.
That's why the trio works.
yeah, I like it. And every time you guys said something, I was like, yeah. And I was like, I either like I understood it, but also like I really felt yours. I felt like that was the me.
Yeah.
It's that imposter syndrome. I don't know. Just like, can I do this?
But I think you work well under pressure. I remember how long something happened with Cassidy in The Music Man. She played Zenita Ship.
Yeah, she hurt her leg really.
And you had what, 5 hours?
Yeah, to learn. Yeah, it was like a phone call. Grace called and said she's not I think she hurt her knee. And it's like a little dancer part. It was like supposed to be played by a 15-year-old, and I was in my mid-20s by that time, maybe older than that. I think it was closer to in my 30s. But anyway, I had choreographed the show, so at least I was like, okay, I kind of know the choreography. It wasn't a lot of lines. But it was a full production show, and costume changes and all the things. And so, yeah, I did it for one night only. I was up there, and then I think she came back. But yeah, that was wild.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I remember people were telling me, "Oh, Lauren just beat your record."
I know that was probably the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. But you did much harder shows than I did. But still, I did do it in
But no, and
5 hours.
and the other thing to think about is the entrances and exits. It's all those little nuances.
yeah,
that you have to-
blocking and
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a quick study like you. He comes in memorized. It takes me all the way up until opening night to be like, I think I got it, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'm like, I think one of the questions Ivan asked on Facebook was like, what do you do right before you go on stage? I'm like, oh man, I have a checklist I go through. One of the ones is to go to the bathroom because I don't want to forget to like do that before I get on stage and have to go to the bathroom because that's the one time I missed my cue. I know you haven't asked me that question.
We
but,
haven't. But it's coming.
Okay, so yeah, I've missed a lot of cues. I could have read a whole page dissertation on
Could be a whole episode just on your mistakes.
the mistakes I've made on stage. I think that's another. I'm like, I think that's the other scary part for me getting on stage is like, everyone's expecting me to be perfect, and I am far removed from perfect. Like I make more mistakes than probably half the kids, and the kids would be like,
So it feels like, oh my gosh, let's see Lauren. Oh my gosh, Lauren's up there. Let's see her.
I'm like, give me my notes, kids, because I'm sure you have a lot for me. Like I like a lot of notes. You probably have a lot of notes for me. So yeah, before show, I guess I'm answering my own questions. Sorry.
No,
You're directing this episode, I guess.
Here I am.
Go ahead.
That's the only time I feel comfortable when I'm in charge.
Yep.
So yeah, I usually, because Grace taught us to make our cheat sheets, so I usually have my little note cards. I go through my note cards. I have my little like checklist of like, did you do all of these things? Did you pin your wig? Because that's another thing that happened to me on stage one time, and my wig fell off. Which I would love to hear that Kyle's wig fell off, because the one time my wig fell off was because I was helping Kyle with his makeup because he was running late for Chicago, and he was playing Mary Sunshine, so he had to have full woman makeup on and his wig pinned and everything. So I was the one to do his makeup for him. And so he like rushed in. He's like, oh, you got to do my makeup. And I was like getting my stuff done. And I stopped. I didn't pin my wig because I started doing his makeup and did all of his makeup for him and went on stage, did one full kick, leg, back, wig, on the floor, wig cap. Here I am. it's in the opening number, and I was like ready to just walk off, just like I'm done.
That's
like
it.
peace out.
Oh yes,
I'm done.
I remember
It was
that.
The second time,
No, that was Kyle was in the first time.
was he?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jake was the second
played
time.
Mary Sunshine the second.
They have blended together in my brain. I have the worst.
Well, they
memory.
both look really good in the dress. So
Well,
I mean,
True.
there's that.
Yeah, they were both gorgeous women.
yeah.
Because I did. I mean,
you
one
did
of
the
them-
makeup.
You did their makeup.
I don't think
Yeah.
I did Jake's. I think I was like, I'm not doing anybody's makeup. Not happening.
So the lesson is
Pin your wig.
pin your wig first. Take care of yourself first.
It's
and
like
then
on an
assist
airplane.
someone
Like
else.
put on your mask
First, then the
Yes.
child.
Then assist the
Exactly.
child.
Yes. Get yourself ready
That was
before you put on
my
makeup.
big
Pin your wig first.
Yeah, totally.
Then
So
your
yeah,
friend.
my little checklist of things like pin your wig and
But it's taken you years to build out that checklist.
yeah,
so
for sure. And
Don't stop working on your checklist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before you show. And when it's like a serious role, I really like quiet. I don't like a lot of people around me. But if I'm playing like a more lighthearted, less intense role, then I'm talking to everybody. If I'm doing a serious role, like I remember even this goes way back, Ricky. This goes back to Our Fiddler, and I
Okay.
have to go on stage and just cry my little eyes out as Hava. And I remember I would find like a dark corner and just like sit quietly before that scene, because I knew if I was talking to other people, I wouldn't be able to get into that headspace of like where I needed to be. And so I just find like the quietest little darkest place, and I would just like get down in like a little huddle and be like, okay, this is the scene. You're gonna, you have to get really sad. And yeah, it really depends on the role, kind of like that pre-show ritual, but the checklist is always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the same thing for Bob Cratchit.
I was
before,
just
trying
thinking
to-
of that when she said it.
Yeah,
He would
because
go
people
to-
would be
well,
like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
You went into it. Don't talk to him right now. He's going to a deep dark place, and I
Yeah,
had to
I
just
would
go.
do the
I would
same
stare at the wall in the dark backstage, like not looking at you, because you actually made me even sadder.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, our child is dead. We're going to bury our child.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and I'd work up real tears, but I had to not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And you were like serious.
Yeah. I remember doing the same thing
was
with
dark.
Sally Bowles and going up to sing Maybe This Time every night. I would they built this little like hole for me under the stairs because I had so many fast changes, and I was going upstairs and downstairs
Yeah.
and doing all these things, and I would just sit in my like little dark hole and be like, okay, here we go, like
Yeah.
this is the moment. And I think that song is my favorite, like juicy, like another moment where I was like, I'm acting. I am telling the
Love,
story.
Yeah.
I would get goosebumps on my body, and it was like one of the most surreal moments on stage, because we're upstairs, which is really not that high in our stage, but your toes are on the edge of this platform, and you can't see anything because the spotlight is so bright, and you could literally walk off the edge of this platform at any moment. There's no like rail, there's nothing. It's just this little like platform, and I'm singing Maybe This Time, and I remember my body just shaking, like from passion and intensity, and singing about she's just the baby and all of that. I don't know if I don't explain that show, but that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think acting wise, Into the Woods and Sally Bowles are like definitely my two like top.
Yeah, I
favorite
think I
moments.
remember when
Yeah.
you sang Cabaret at the end.
Oh, yeah.
You came out looking all like.
I felt like
I remember I didn't know you were supposed to take a shot off of the tray.
Oh, yeah.
And I did the introduction for Sally Bowles. And then I improvised and took her shot.
and I was like,
Yeah. And then Grace during notes was like, Ricky,
That's
you took Sally's shot. I was like, oh, well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
but here's another question. I'm answering all my own.
I love it.
it's great.
The male.
This is your studio. We're just
yeah.
chilling in
Yeah.
it.
the male role I would play would be the MC.
Oh,
Okay, that makes sense.
100%.
You know what?
I know when I heard that question, I was like,
done.
it was like being.
You're like,
I didn't
Never
need a list.
occurred to me. Wow.
Yeah, that's my. If I could only listen to one show for my whole entire
Oh
life.
my
Okay,
gosh.
Doing our job,
Sorry,
Lauren. My
I'm sorry.
goodness.
I know. But
Marcella, this is why she's a bigger fan than you.
This is why Marcella.
oh, she just won. She's number one
Seven
fan
up,
for
well,
sure.
I would do Cabaret.
Cabaret. You would
I
listen
would
to
listen
it.
to Cabaret over and over again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think of the revival? Did you see the performance of the
I
Tony
liked
Awards?
it. I
Really?
like any new take on something, because I like when somebody's being creative,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't
Right.
feel like I get to do that a lot here, because you're trying to appease the masses.
Yes.
You're
Right.
trying to sell tickets.
Right.
We're trying to
You have to play it a little safer.
yeah, you're a little
the
safer. And we're doing it in
masses,
3 weeks. Like,
Right,
that's the other
right.
thing. Like I said, if I ever were to have a 6-month process to like dream up a show and how I would want to do it, and, you know, I think I would do things a lot different. But because we do it so fast and so furious, and it's literally a suicide mission of like, I sure hope this comes together. Like, here we go. You have to play it a little safe. Yeah. And I do dream of someday getting a little bit more time to do a show. But yeah, I love a new take. Like, I'm always open to a new take of a new show. I'm not always going to love it as much. I could watch the original movie with Liza Minnelli
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I love the classics. I love the oldies. I love those women who really set the trail ablaze for me, like as a small child. I remember watching all of that when I was little and just be like, wow. And I still, like, when I was preparing to play that part, I think I only watched Liza. Like, I was like, I'm doing the Liza
Yeah.
version. I'm not doing any of these other versions. Like, this is my girl.
Yeah.
Like, as a child, Judy Garland was my all-time. Like, Dorothy was my dream role of a child. And I did get to play it in a workshop. But I never got to play it in a big kid show. And I always tell the story to the little kids about how I thought I was going to play Dorothy because I already played it in the workshop. So, of course, I was going to get cast the second time they did it.
Yeah.
And I'm now, like, I think I was 11 or 10 when I did it originally in the workshop show. And then roll around to, like, I think I was 13. It wasn't much older. But I was like, I already did it. I already know it. I'm going to play it. And another Lauren was cast. So I went to the cast list and I was like, oh, Lauren Swenson. And I threw the biggest fit of my life. I talk about a Nolan fit. It was a Nolan fit. I was in my mom's minivan. I would not stop crying. My mom said, if you don't get out of the minivan in about 5 minutes, you're not allowed to be in the show. And I didn't get out of the minivan. I continued to throw the fit for however long. My mom probably could tell you, but for me, it probably was an hour or longer. So she didn't let me do the show. I didn't get to be in it. All my friends were in it. I remember Kara and Trisha and all those girls were Poppies and Ozians, and my little sister was a munchkin, the cutest munchkin there ever was. And I remember sitting in the audience watching all my friends have the time of their life, and all I could think was like, wrong choice, Lauren. Grace always says make good choices, and it was the wrong choice.
I remember
bad-
when I
bad
heard that at
choices.
workshop the first
Yeah.
time. I was like, "Oh my god!"
I know.
And I was also like, "Good for your mom."
Oh,
right?
no, I know. Like,
Yeah.
Like, good for her. Most parents would have been like, "Okay, no, you can do it."
Yeah. Oh no, I had a strong mama.
Yeah.
And I think that it's made me who I am. And it's funny because not only did I have a strong mom who was amazing and believed in me like the biggest cheerleader there ever was, but she like also made sure my head was on straight, and she made sure that my ego was in check, and she knew that me staying busy was going to keep me out of trouble. But not only did I have my mom who was like phenomenal, and my dad who just loved me and no matter what, I also had Grace on my other shoulder who was like my other mom.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I had a great upbringing. I had great parents. I had really strong women in my life, I feel like, along the way who have made me who I am. But naturally at heart, I'm still a shy, anxious little girl. So that's the other side of me.
Okay. As a director, and I know you've touched on some of this, but maybe we can expand a little. What are some of the most challenging aspects that you feel not a lot of people would know
About directing. a show.
and there's a lot.
Yeah, I think I've kind of touched a little bit,
Yeah.
like, the not trusting people's motives sometimes.
Right.
Also, the fact that I'm sometimes have to break people's hearts and dreams, like that's really hard. But you're also making dreams come alive, so you kind
get
of like,
both,
it's 50-50.
Yeah.
The fact that we do shows so quickly, and that we work on a postage stamp size stage. If you haven't been to Grace Arts Live, it is extremely small, and we have an even smaller backstage. We also have no offstage or backstage.
Yeah.
Everything, it's literally outside. It's like camping, the camping world of theater. Yeah.
Yes.
We have trailers for dressing rooms, which are very nice, and I think make everybody feel really special. They get to go to the trailer.
They are.
And sometimes we have, we talk about green M&Ms and your fancy trailers, but they're not fancy at all. But they do the job.
See, I just leave information out when I say, "Oh yeah, somebody knocked on the door to my trailer."
Oh, so it makes you feel really
yeah,
you
that
know,
makes sense.
nobody asks follow-up questions
Right.
about the trailer.
How many sweaty men are in that trailer?
It's not just your
Right.
trailer.
What does that trailer smell like?
It was
Oh.
like 15 of us packed
Yeah.
in there. Yeah.
The girls' trailer is so much nicer.
Yeah,
yeah.
but also still gross.
but also very gross.
But yes, nicer.
Let's be fair. It's gross.
Yeah. So that's really difficult. But I think the hardest thing about our job at Grace Arts Live as directors is that we don't have a full tech crew. Sometimes we do not have a set designer. Sometimes we don't have prop people. Sometimes we don't have set painters. Sometimes we don't have a lot of those things. So it just the job just falls onto the director. So
Yeah.
I have done my props thousands of times. I've designed my own sets and I know nothing of what I'm doing. I just hope and pray that it's going to work out. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, we just wear a lot more hats than I think a lot of directors normally wear. And then I usually always do my own choreography. So that's just another thing on top of it. I've always, again, dreamed of I only have to direct the show, and then I'll have all the other people who can do all the other jobs, and that would be cool because then I could really spend a lot of time on just the directing part of it. But
Right.
because we are in a small community and we don't necessarily have all those people, we end up just wearing a lot of hats, which sometimes can be very overwhelming. But again, if there's anybody out there in the world who wants to come to Lake Havasu and build sets and design sets and teach a ballet class, come on down. It's a beautiful desert community. Here I am.
Yeah.
If you're really good at
I could-
organizing and collecting things,
Oh,
props
yeah,
are
props.
I mean,
I mean, and then if
great
you're
job.
a billionaire and you want to Daddy Warbucks, our new venture next door, come on down.
Please.
Okay, so if you had to be stuck on an island
Yes.
with any character that you've played, who would it be?
Interesting. That is a weird question. I
It
thought I
is.
had
I
an
don't know.
answer,
I
and
was
then
trying to be whimsical.
I was like, okay, I'll say this, and then I was like, but why? I don't even know why I'd say that. I guess Velma Kelly. Why not? Like, if
why
I'm going to be
not?
stuck on an island with somebody, let's be stuck with Velma. I could just they sit and they smoke with
Yes.
Mama, and sing the
Yeah.
our lives woes story, and I don't smoke, but
I'm just
I
going
feel
to
like
cut
you could
this
pretend.
question.
I think you should leave it.
it was fun and whimsical, right? Lauren sitting and smoking is always funny because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I've smoked in a lot of shows, and Grace is like, I don't think you're doing it right.
No.
I'm like, I don't think so either, but I'm also working with a fake cigarette, so you're like blowing out to get smoke and not in, and like if you suck in on a fake cigarette, you like suck in the weird powdery stuff that's inside. So yeah.
See, behind the scenes, some people don't know that.
Some people don't know.
Yeah, it's gross. I've done it many times because Grace's like, you're not doing it right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to inhale
And
on
then
this
you
fake
get,
cigarette. I'm like, it's gross. But then you also feel really cool when you just like hold.
Right.
Right.
Holding the
So
cigarette.
I get the effect, but like,
Singing with a little attitude of the cigarette in the hand. There's
Yeah.
nothing like it.
no, especially because I'm not that kind of person at
Right.
all. Like, I feel very cool right now.
So we know that directing brings you joy, but what brings you the most joy when you're on stage as an actor?
I kind of talked about it. It's like that aha moment of I did this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
That's more of an after the fact sort of.
Oh, so not,
Like
but
in
see, in
the
the moment, I don't feel or know what
You just kind of black out?
I do. I 100% black out on stage.
Okay.
The only time I don't black out on stage is when I'm concerned with what somebody else is doing. Like I'm like, or like sometimes I've done a couple times where I'm acting and directing a show, and I'm like looking around like, no, they're doing that wrong, or like, why is that set piece not coming on?
So you have to be on alert at any.
Yeah,
If
so
you have to be on alert, then.
That's the only time I'm like actually like noticing things. But if I'm like in an intense character and like I'm playing Nancy or Sally or whatever, I am
Blacked
100%
out.
blacked out.
Oh man, see,
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's probably why I mess up. That's probably why.
sometimes I feel like time stands still up there in those right moments.
Do you? I mean, you've been on stage with me. Like, do you feel like I'm blacked out? Do you feel like I'm present? Ooh.
Now,
Oh.
Maybe don't answer that.
he's questioning everything now.
I think you're very methodical. This is the plan.
Yeah,
this is the
I don't
this
like
is the
when
order of
things go
events.
out of
This is
Yeah.
the story we're telling. You know, you do your part. I'm going to do mine.
I'm not a big ad-libber.
yeah, but
I'm not-
again, you,
No, you're not.
and when somebody else ad-libs, I'm like, that's not in the script.
yeah, you have to again.
Yeah.
You have
I may
to
not know the
trust that
script as well as
everyone
you, but I
else-
know that's not in the script.
Yeah, you have to trust everyone else knows their part.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
terrifying, especially as being a director.
You're hyper focused on stage.
Yeah.
Super, because I am terrified I'm going to mess it up. I know
Right.
it's the end story of it.
Yeah, you're not one to really don't mess with Lauren
Yeah.
when she's doing a big role in a show. Let her do her thing
Yeah.
and do her method.
Yeah, I'm definitely in my head, which maybe someday I'll work myself out of that, but I don't foresee that.
I feel like
I think
we're-
it's just my natural.
So you just love getting things under your belt and being like, boom, done, boom, done. Oh my gosh, I accomplished this.
Yeah, but there are those shows like I mentioned that I'm like, I need a second shot of that.
So but the Patsy Cline show, for instance, I mean, Allie was talking to us about how special and meaningful that was to her and to you.
Yeah.
And to both of you, like, as friends. And it was a big,
Yeah,
deal.
I think the second time I did Patsy, I was pretty comfortable on stage, and I was able to relax a little bit more and enjoy the moment. And there was some really nice, like, aha moments of like, and I would look back at my grandpa and be like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, it was just full circle. It was a really full circle moment. And the first time was terrifying because live band, we learned the show in a week. Like I had been practicing. I will say that because we're with a live band, I had sung the songs thousands and billions of times because we had to get it right together. It wasn't like everything else we do at Grace Arts Live normally is all tracks. So that was a big deal to have a live band on stage, but also very difficult to have a live band on stage. But the second time around, I think I got to enjoy it a little bit more, which was nice because I don't always enjoy it until it's done. Sometimes, when I'm on stage in the moment, I'm like, "This is terrifying. Why did I do this? Whose idea was this? Like, why?"
And you're like, "Oh, it was my idea."
Yeah, exactly.
I did this
Normally,
to myself.
99% I'm like, "Oh yeah, this was me. This was
No, me.
Yeah. So I don't usually find the joy until it's done. I don't. I really am stressed on stage.
Okay.
99% of the time. I'm really jealous. Peanut butter and jealous is coming up in the next show, which is my new favorite line. And I'm tired of a wimpy kid. I keep using it over and over. I'm like, that's good. Anyway, peanut butter and jealous of people like you, Ricky, who can really enjoy it while you're out there. Because
It's not to say I don't stress.
I know, but you can tell you're enjoying yourself. I don't know if people can always. I wonder sometimes, like, should I be doing this? I don't know.
You're like, can they tell how stressed I am
Right,
now?
no, yeah. I break
get
into
it, I get it,
hives.
yeah.
Like, it's a real thing. I will never forget talking to Gina Felicia about anxiety, and she kind of gave me a little backstory in that she has similar, and she gets the same rash I do, where she gets like hot, and I probably have it right now, on my chest, where I can like feel the heat of my anxiousness coming out of my skin. Like, and I will have it going up my neck, like all the way up, and it looks like a rash. Like,
So, did Allie help alleviate that? Like, specifically the second time you did that show?
yeah,
But like Allie, she's a trusted
yeah.
colleague and friend.
Yeah,
so.
but it's not really so much about.
It doesn't
the other
matter.
person. It's a me thing. It really is. It's
Yeah.
a me and my own demons and anxiety and whatever else lives in my side of my head that. That I mean, of course, the scariness of I was never scared with her. I knew she was going to deliver every time. She hits her mark every time, like no fear in my brain ever of anything that Allie has ever done on stage. I'm like, she's beautiful. And I think the thing about her is she is so on point. Like, she does not miss a step. She does not miss a beat. She does not miss a harmony. She's like, and as a director, it's great. And I think that's why she's played so many leads, is because she's just, as we like to say, the word I always give to my kids, consistent. Okay.
Oh, I was like, reliable?
Consistent. Consistency. And I always explain it because little kids don't really know what that word is.
Right.
But I always remember Grace in my head always saying, the next audience deserves just as good of a show as the one before got.
Okay.
So being consistent to me is important. And I know that's not.
Wait, do you think I'm consistent or inconsistent?
I think you're pretty consistent. I think when you do get off track sometimes, it's not necessarily your fault. I think you're making up for somebody else's misline or
Okay.
I think you're
like
consistent.
stressing out.
No, I think you're very consistent too. But I think the most consistent actor I think I've seen in a long time is Allie.
Allie, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like she's just rock
would
solid.
agree, yeah.
She doesn't seem shaken by anything.
No.
I don't think I've ever been like, oh, she's nervous or oh
Yeah, and you know what? I remember specifically during the "I Love You" song, like talking about her and I had to like do the same movements, but we couldn't really see each other, and we had to walk down at the same time, and we both were talking like these are the counts or these are the words that we're turning on, and it was like, and she never failed.
Yeah.
So
she's very consistent. Which, so, yeah, I'm sure that made me feel more comfortable as Patsy the second time around, too. Yeah. But, again, it's all in my head. For sure. I wish. Maybe I need some therapy. Or, like, what's the hypnotizing?
We all need therapy.
Hypnotizing therapy where, like, put you under and tell you, like, get
Well, if you
over
figure
this.
it out, let me know.
Yeah, I know. I have.
We can just have a joint session.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the best people on stage have that.
Oh, yeah. I do, too. And I think it's because we feel our emotions deeply.
You feel well. There's that
Yeah.
fourth wall
Yeah.
that you're hiding behind.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I was the third born and with 4 kids, and part of the reason I loved theater so much is because you literally have dialogue that's written. Like, people are there. I'm like, they have to listen to me. They're literally paying money to listen to a line. This line was written. I'm going to say it. Like, I'm not going to get interrupted. Like, this is like, so that for me was a big deal getting into theater.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's always that whole, like, I can be seen now.
Yeah.
But there's that wall
Yeah.
where you know you're protected.
So after I did Patsy Cline, my grandpa's band were like, well, you should continue to sing with us. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. I'll just sing some of my Patsy songs. And then it turned into like, oh, and you should learn this song and this song and this song. And then by the
Suddenly
next
she's
thing-
doing Black Velvet.
Yeah, no, it was wild. Like we were performing like almost every other weekend, and they called me the girl singer, and they're like, can you have the girl singer come? And next thing I knew, I was singing like every other song, every
Did you
third
guys do a
song.
First Friday?
Yeah, we did a First Friday. We always performed at the rodeo, but it was different because it was me.
You weren't playing a part.
I was not playing a part, and that was even more
scary.
terrifying.
Oh, no.
Like
Yeah.
because now I am myself. I'm not
And
hiding.
the environment's not controlled so
Yeah,
much.
there's
Yeah.
not necessarily like lighting and all. You know, I would dress up in my cowgirl attire, so I was like trying to like make it feel like I was
Be a character.
Yeah.
be a character, but that was really hard, and I enjoyed it because it was with my grandpa, and I enjoyed it because those were moments and memories I will never get back in my life. And my favorite song to sing with him was Grandpa, and he would look at me and just like almost cry, and I was just, it was really, there were some really magical moments, but I had to stop doing it just because it was a lot, and as many people know, it's just a busy life, and I just had to give one thing up, and so that was one of the things. But I'm forever grateful for being able to do that, although it was even more scary than being on stage in a role. Because,
But now that it's over, it's under your belt. You're super happy
and now
about it.
I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, check.
All right, you've already answered most of our usual questions
Sorry.
because you directed yourself, but that's okay. But you said you've missed lots of cues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we always ask, because it's the name of our show, have you ever missed a cue?
Oh, yes. I will tell you the one that hurts my heart the most.
Oh.
I'm sure there's many more, and I'm sure I've left Ricky on stage. I'm sure I've left probably everybody on stage. But
Face.
Oh.
anyway, I get in my head, and so. But here's my worst miscue because it was the longest, I think, and it was detrimental, and I cried. So anyway, I was doing Little Shop of Horrors, and I was playing Audrey, and Grace had brought in this phenomenal Seymour, Scott Dreyer. And I've never been handled with such care by another actor. I mean, he spent countless hours with me just explaining the show, every musical cue and why it's there and why we're doing this show and why it's so important and, you know, explaining the music. And he has done the show, I don't even know, so many times with like famous women playing the part of Audrey.
Wow.
And here I am playing the part of Audrey next to this man, and I, again, imposter syndrome. I'm like, I am not worthy to be here. I cannot mess this up. I don't think I've ever worked so hard. We're second weekend, third weekend, I don't know. We're into the show. It's going well. It's well received. I'm having the time of my life. It's one of my all-time favorite like shows of all time. Like I just and really into it. I put the work in. Ricky had stepped in at the dentist at the last
that's right.
minute. That was kind of wild. Have you told that story?
No, not
I'll
really.
have to tell that story someday. That's
Yeah.
a good one. So we're all doing the thing, and it's right before Act 1 is over. I'm supposed to run in, and it's supposed to be, I'm like in my raincoat, and it's like you're supposed to beat me up.
I
right?
could tell you exactly what happened,
Okay.
but if you want
Okay, no, you tell the like lead into it, and then I'll tell why I missed the cue.
Okay, so it's during the song "Feed Me." I was playing the dentist. I came to pick up Audrey for the date, right? And we leave, and then they do the whole "Feed Me" song,
Right.
and then Seymour's like, I don't know anybody who deserves to be chopped up and fed to a hungry plant. And the plant's like, sure you do.
Right.
And then we walk in, and we're supposed to burst in right there. And there's like a vamp playing underneath this.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
Like,
I had been there ready for my cue, and Lauren's nowhere to be found. And it went on so long. I got so frustrated. I don't think I've ever been so angry on stage in my life. Because the
makes
poor
sense that it's
Scott
funny.
is
He's
out
just out
there.
there.
And like later on, he came up to us. He's like, you guys can't do that to me anymore. I can't improvise with a plant puppet. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So,
What did he do during that time?
He just
I
kept
don't-
yelling at the plan.
he just kind of kept saying, I don't know, Tui, stuff like that. He was doing his best. But then here comes Lauren, and she had this look on her face
I think I
that
was
made
already
me feel
crying.
bad. Yeah.
I think I was already in tears.
But it worked for the scene, so.
Well, yeah. In my head, again, I get really in my head. I thought the act 1 was done for some reason. But the reason why I thought it was done is because I had to pee so bad that I was like, okay, it's done. I can go to the bathroom now. Like, oh, here we go. And I run to the bathroom, and in girl land of theater, you're wearing 16 undergarments
Yeah, right.
and
It's
you've
not
got
quick.
your mic. It is not a quick thing that happens. Not TMI, but I'm over in Cause, which is a mile away from the theater when you think about it. It's really in that moment, and nobody can find me. And so I don't remember who ran and was like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be on stage." I'm like, "No, it's it's intermission." They're like, "No,
Nope.
it's not intermission. You are supposed to be on stage right now." And so
Oh my gosh!
I
When,
just
when your heart drops in that moment,
Yeah.
there's nothing like that
so
feeling.
I just remember running from Cause to the theater and just tears just running down my face and just looking at Ricky like, I'm so sorry. And we just went on and we finished the scene and left. But yeah, it was horrible. I will forever be embarrassed of that moment. But I just get really, I guess in my head, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause
there's no excuse for a missed or late cue. That's all I have to say.
I mean,
And
That's it. Okay.
There is-
But the
we've yet to hear a good one.
yeah, I mean,
There's no excuse.
it's not a good excuse, and I will forever just hate myself for that. To be honest, it's horrible. I mean, of all people to leave on stage, Scott Dreyer, who's the nicest, sweetest man alive, and after he'd spent so much time with me and perfecting this role, and
Made sure you knew how many scenes you had in the first act. Exactly.
I remember when he came and he was like, "We have to do the telephone song." I was like, "No, Grace, cut it. We're not doing it." And he's like, "No, we're doing it. It's important to the show." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I remember spending hours and hours of learning the song with him, and you have to pick up 5 different phones on, and they had cut it from the movie, so that's why Grace was like, "It's not important.
Right.
We're not going to do it." But yeah, we did it, and it was hard.
That show was nuts. Well, the dentist role also plays 4 other roles in the second act, which it wasn't originally that way.
Right.
But then Tuesday of
Hell Week.
Hell Week, they
no,
were
you
like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can do it like this now. And I felt terrible because, first of all, I'm like, well, now I have 2 days before opening to learn these 4 characters, 3 of which were in a song. And not only that, but everybody was cast already
In those parts.
That
That was a wild show.
It was.
There's just so many changes and just a lot, but it was good.
It was.
And I thought about trying to redo Audrey, but again, this voice thing's a little hard to sing some of that stuff. So I am hoping that it gets passed along to the next most amazing gal, and I'll go and sit and enjoy it because I love that show so much.
yeah,
That's
that
our
show's-
first show coming up in the season. Get your tickets
Exciting.
now.
That's
Absolutely.
Oh my
Little Shop of
gosh.
Horrors. Yay.
So fun.
Oh man. Okay, so actually, along the lines of missed cues, I actually have a question that just popped in my head. A lot of people have told us missed cue stories during a lot of people say, "Oh well, I don't think rehearsals count."
Oh, I don't think they count because there's so many factors. It
see?
could just be a bad costume.
I
change
just
that
wanna
went
squash
wrong.
it.
I mean,
Costuming.
the only factor that I feel like I, as a director, would be upset about is somebody was just messing around backstage and doing
Yeah.
some things they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Then they would deserve a little but we still make you get up and say there's no
Still-
excuse
yeah.
because I think owning up to your mistakes is part of life. And again, we're always teaching life lessons along with theater lessons. And I think it's important. So
Yeah,
I
and-
like it. I think it's fun. I don't, some people feel like, oh, that's such like a reprimanding,
No.
like bad kid slap on the wrist thing. I don't think it's fun. I think nobody
Yeah.
takes it too.
No, and nobody's sitting there shaming you.
Yeah.
over it.
Sometimes
right.
it feels like it though.
Everybody else is going, been there.
Yeah.
It's not me this time.
Except for Allie. No, I've
Yeah.
never missed a late.
No,
No,
never.
never. Not me. Which I believe 100%. Again, I'm like,
No, I'm waiting for us to have someone on that was like, actually, I was affected by Allie Miscue.
it'll
It's
never.
not going to
It
happen.
won't happen.
It's
it
not.
won't.
You think?
No.
No, I doubt it.
So, have you ever been a victim though of someone else's missed cue?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have a show that I call the Cursed Show. Grace and I both call it Cursed. It's South Pacific, and it's funny because I always have wanted to be in a classic show, like a Roger and Hammerstein, like a very classic show. And that's the only classic show I've really ever been casted in as far as the leading lady. So I'm playing Nellie Forbush, and Grace had this great idea the first time we were doing this that we were going to have. She used to do these like kind of like not karaoke contests, but like our own little, who's the best singer in Havasu shows at the theater when we were first getting going. So she would go around to all of the karaoke bars in Havasu.
Yes.
And they would have to like win the karaoke contest, and then they would like get a spot in the show at Grace Arts Live, and it was like, we should bring
my-
that back. It was
Yeah,
kind of
that's kinda
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
I love that
Anyway,
idea.
yeah. So she decided whoever wins this contest gets the lead in the show.
The
or like
lead.
a lead in the show, or like a bigger role in the
Yeah.
show. So we have this guy, I don't even remember his name, totally random, wins the karaoke contest, wins the show contest at Grace Arts Live. I don't even know what we called it. So she's like, he has this like beautiful operatic voice, baritone voice. Let's give him the lead role in South Pacific. Why not?
Why
I
not?
don't think he's ever done theater
No.
before. Kind of looked the part a little. Like at first he seemed fairly normal. Like okay. So we're doing the show. He's kind of struggling because he's never done the show before. Never done a show, I don't think, before in his life. Sings the songs pretty well. Kind of, he's pulling it off. And so we get to Hell Week, and first of all, we have one of our sailor guys who's like, "Oh, do I have to be there on Sundays for like Sunday performances?" We're like, "Yeah, that's kind of important." So, and he drops out, and then the next thing I know, this guy's like getting just kind of weirder and weirder by the day. He's like reeks of smoke. He starts smoking like he's nervous. He's anxious. So he's like starts chain smoking during this process of Hell Week because he's never been through this before. It gets very stressful. And anyway, smells of smoke. I have to kiss the guy. He's like really and all this stuff. Anyway, that's a whole other part. But here's the leave me on stage horrible part is that he mid-show decides they start telling him like, you can't smoke during the show, dude, like that's against the rules. You can't smoke in your costumes, you can't eat in your costumes, whatever. So he goes and hides to smoke because he's feeling so anxious and whatnot. And again, it's the scene right before Act 1. He probably thinks that it's the show we're at intermission. And he's hiding so that people don't find him smoking. And so I go out, it's the end scene, and we're supposed to have this big romantic love scene. And we're supposed to sing Some Enchanted Evening and dance together. And so I run on stage to do the scene in my little pink ball gown. And I look at the butler and I'm like, where is he? And he's like, I don't know. And he's got this like little French accent and he's like calling for him. And I'm just standing there, and he doesn't come, and he doesn't come, and he doesn't come. Nobody can find him because he's hiding.
gosh.
He's literally hiding. And so finally I looked into the audience and I see Karen Hamster in the back there. And I remember just kind of like looking at her, and she pushes play on Some Enchanted Evening, and I just sing it to myself. And I'm like tears rolling down my face because I'm a little bit of a crier.
It's the most depressing thing ever.
Yeah, and it's supposed and sing it until the end.
Enchanted.
Yeah, literally. And it's
I'm
supposed to
here
be
by
a heartbreaking moment. Thank goodness. And then the lights just like go dark, and that was the end of Act 1. Like he never came on. He never showed up. And so that was my.
So that's
Can
one
you
of those
sing that by
things because
yourself?
I always say in those situations, like, did we tell the story did we progress the plot? I mean,
Yeah, but so my ending story is that he never showed up, and that's why we broke it off. But like, that's not really how it's supposed to be broken. Like, that's not really how
That's not really
how the story.
What
But
happened?
it
Oh, that's
kind of
awesome.
played because I ended up very sad at the end. But yeah,
that was
so-
good motivation.
Yeah, I mean, those
Wow.
were real tears. Those were
Abandonment.
real tears of abandonment. And then the second time we did it, I got to play Nellie Forbush again, and then COVID happened.
I know when we got shut down.
So that's why it's the cursed show for
Yeah.
me. And so now I'm like, well, maybe I should just not do any more Hammerstein shows because I always wanted that. I wanted that
Well,
like
at least
classic
that
moment.
one.
Yeah, it was some sweet moments.
Wouldn't
There
you
was
want to be like
fun.
Maria in Sound of Music?
I thought about that one. There's a lot. I thought about Carousel. I even thought about directing Carousel.
Well, the first show I was ever in was Sound of Music, and you were in
Yeah,
it.
I was. I was Liesel, 16 going on 17. But I was actually, I think, 14. Oh, yeah. I was thinking of Carousel the first time I did it because it was the same guy who played opposite me. But you guys talked about the fly down situation the other day. And it made me think of this one time. I won't name his name because he might be embarrassed. But he was Enoch Snow in Carousel, and I was Louise, and they were in all white and pink shirts, and he had his fly down and his pink shirt hanging out of his thing. And I just remember being like this 13, 14 little girl, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe it. But that's what made me, when you guys were talking about the fly down situation, I was like,
Yeah.
I have a good fly down story. I was mortified, he was mortified. Anyway.
Everybody was probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
Thank goodness they have it was at the big stage, so they had a longer view from
good. They were
yeah, they were
farther
further
away.
away. It's not like in our stage where
They're like right there.
They're sweating on
Right there.
everybody and looking at their
Liter-
nostrils.
literally.
I'm always wondering, like,
Are they looking?
what do they see from that
Yeah, no kidding.
vantage point?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Rod actually recently. We recorded an episode with him just the other day. And he brought up when he came on stage during Cabaret when he was Herr Schultz
Sunglasses.
with his Ray-Bans on. And you just kind of slowly took them off for him.
I get into these, like, I swear, I'm like in another world when I'm on stage sometimes, and I just remember being like, that is not good. Like, that
is not.
And I like put them down because I was like, it was going into the scary, maybe this time moment. I think it was like,
sometimes it's like better to just obviously do it because it's obvious.
yeah,
It's World War II,
yeah, and he's
Probably
and they were
not.
like those like black, like
thick.
like fly looking glasses, and they were not Ray-Bans. They were like the kind that were like that like 90s stuff, you know. They're like coming back now too, and I
Like
was like,
Oakley?
I just remember looking at him and be like, Grace is not gonna like this. Like,
Yeah.
I need to take these off.
Yeah.
For you. But Grace was mad. She goes, you should have just left them on. And I was like, oh, Grace. I was like, I don't know. I just in my head I literally was thinking Grace is not gonna like this.
I was like,
Oh my
What I
gosh.
did,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been the right.
Yeah, I know. God love her. I remember I was like, oh, I made the wrong choice. Gotta make good choices.
I feel like if you would have left the glasses on, that
Right.
also would have been the wrong choice.
I think
Right.
you made
be
your
fair.
best choice.
I made my best choice. It
And-
wasn't her favorite, but that's okay. I couldn't look at him. I was like, I can't focus. You have those
Take those off.
I could see my reflection in your sunglasses.
Not okay.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So him and I have had some fun moments on stage.
Yeah, Rod's been.
He's a magical unicorn. I don't know. I just talk about somebody who is in the moment. He
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
and can add.
And
with,
he
like,
stretches the moment out.
Oh yeah, he's. I'm impressed, but also as a director, sometimes I'm like, ooh, where's this going?
You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, all right, pull it back, pull
Yeah.
it back.
He was our in Little Shop. He was
He was Mushnick.
Mushnick. Yeah.
Yes.
He was a really good Mushnick. too.
Yeah, he would be.
Yeah. He was really good.
What do the people want to know?
What are the people that?
Well, I mean, did we talk at all about how emotionally connected you've been to some of your characters?
I do get emotionally invested. I think I'm one of those people that I'm not like I don't become the character, but like I get very involved with that character. And when I'm done, I'm a little like heartbroken that they're gone. Like
Yeah.
it kind of like
Okay, so like one performance in particular, let's say Les Mis, when you're
Yeah.
doing that song,
Ugh.
when you were performing that song,
Yeah.
I feel like I wasn't in the show,
Yeah.
but I feel like as an audience member, you can tell when people are really into
Yeah.
the performance
Yeah.
and in
So
the
when-
moment.
The
So I
wild
feel-
thing about playing Fontaine was I was pregnant with Blaine. I was, I think, like 4 months pregnant with Blaine, and I was sick. Like I had gotten like a kidney infection, and I was like I'm supposed to be dying on stage, and I was literally felt like I was dying. So
Perfect.
So
that
method
might have
of
been
you.
why you were
Method
thinking I was so.
acting.
But I was so sick. Like
You're like, yeah, I was in the moment. It was
I've
painful.
never thrown up so many times during a show. I would thank God I only was in Act 1, because by Act 2, I was in backstage in blankets, laying down, sleeping.
Oh my
And they would
God.
come wake me up to go on for the end when I'd come back in as like the ghost.
Right.
And I looked like the ghost because I was like,
You're like
"Ugh."
pale anyway.
Yeah, I was just like take off my makeup. Here we go. Like I looked like death. Yeah, that song. So going back to cast albums, that was one of the first cast albums that I bought, and as like a preteen, I feel like I had the original like
too.
double disc cast album of Les
yes.
Mis, and of course every teenage girl is On My Own is like your song, like
Oh, yeah.
and I remember just like playing
Guilty.
it over and over and over.
Yeah.
But I remember as I got older, I would re-listen, and then I'd start to listen to Fantine's song, and I was like, this is the meat. Like, this is the meat and the potatoes, and like, this is the roll.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I would never go back and want to play Eponine. Like, Fantine
No.
was it.
Oh, yeah, that's
Like,
it.
So, yeah, I think I was just really connected because I had that like little passion already as like a preteen. I think I was like 13 when I don't know. It was not even high school yet because I hadn't left for Idlewild yet. But I remember having my little 3DS player or whatever in my room and just playing it over and over and over and over. But not until I got older did I realize how emotional and what like a great role Fantine was, even though she was only in half the show. And I got to come back as the ghost. But yeah, I would do that again too. Maybe I'm too old. I don't know.
No.
She's another lady of the night.
Yeah.
She is another lady
I
of the night.
Beat up lady of the night. That is definitely my speciality. I will say that like when I play regular roles, I'm like, it's a little boring.
It's
You're like, I
fun.
need a little excitement in this
I know,
role.
like
Yeah.
nobody chopped my hair off. I'm still alive to get fed to a plant. Like I mean,
So boring.
eh.
So you're saying the mother in Footloose was a huge difference. than
Oh
your-
gosh,
Oh.
I could never. I would if I never had to do that again in my life. I think yeah, that was my necessity only. I think. Yeah, that was.
Well, Lauren, I'm sure that we could go on and on with questions, and I'm sure that everybody could keep on listening, but
But we don't need to.
it's getting late, and we want to
Jake
go
Ware is
home.
the only one who really deserves a second.
Love it.
Wow. Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to say goodbye, and
Yeah.
thank you so much
Thanks
for being
for having
on.
me.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Sorry I
Yes,
threw
thank
such a fit. It's just my, inner anxiety monsters.
Hey,
totally
we all
fine.
have them, right?
Yeah, we all have them.
all have
Some
It is
more than
normal.
others.
Ricky's like, stop talking, you guys.
Hey,
Sorry.
trying to wrap this up. Okay, I'm sure you'll be on again. Definitely to promote the shows that are coming up
Yeah.
at the theater, and I know you have Diary of a Wimpy Kid auditions coming
Yeah.
up this Saturday.
Yep. Come see that show, guys. The music is
Oh, we will.
so
Yeah,
like
we'll be there.
it's-
Yeah.
everyone's
Anyway,
fine.
okay, all right, okay. Goodbye, Lauren. Thank
Goodbye,
you.
guys. Good night. That was my biggest fear was I was going to talk